Everyone wants to take their business, their skills, to the next level. Small and mid-sized business owners have exceptional insight into how to do this. They endure and thrive because they find ways to overcome the challenges that come their way, and they can teach us valuable lessons to apply to our own companies and lives. Stephen Nooner, founder and owner of Alkali, a company with a unique process that helps businesses more effectively buy and manage their insurance programs. And Bob Gibbons, builder of Riata Commercial Realty, a real estate advisor and tenant advocate, are two prominent Metroplex businessmen who, along with their weekly guests, will ask their and your probing questions, finding impactful solutions that will help you reach for the next level. Here are your hosts, Stephen Nooner and Bob Gibbons.
Welcome to the Next Level, Conversations that Propel Business. This is Bob Gibbons.
And I'm Stephen Nooner. And I'm excited.
What was that?
I don't know. It was just I'm in a weird mood. The reason why I'm in a weird mood is because it's not every day I get to do this. I get to introduce two of my very best friends in the world. Jeff Francis and Rishi Khanna, co-founders of N08, are here with us. These guys are next level thinkers, have a very cool business. I'm looking forward to talking to them today and sharing their wisdom because they've both had huge impacts on me professionally, in my business, and personally. So if you want to learn more about their business, please visit no8.com. Welcome, Rishi and Jeff.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Well, that's no pressure of an intro, right? Now you can't screw it up at all.
No, all right. Yeah, can't make nobody.
So what happens when you break me from script?
Oh, well, I don't like scripts that much. But we do have a quickie script here because we like to start off with wisdom of others. And so today, Peter Drucker, famed thinker, said the best way to predict the future is to create it. So are you guys creating your own future?
Yes, and for our customers, they're the ones who are innovating in their own businesses and disrupting the world. So we help them get to that and execute on their promise.
And I'm looking forward to talking about that because you guys are doing some really cool stuff in the world. I think it's super fascinating where we're living right now, and I remember my great grandfather used to tell me stories about like when they finally got electricity and and so technology that's happening right now, and so I think it'll be really fun. I saw another quote that is similar that made me think of what you guys had put, and it said, 10 years from now, we will surely arrive. The question is where?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's Tony Robbins.
Yeah, we'll always get somewhere.
Noted technologist.
Okay.
That's right.
Well, so I guess the first question I have for you guys is, given the fact that we're talking about the future and predicting where it is and going where it is, I want to know, when do I get my flying car and personal robot?
I've been already here almost.
Yeah. I've been promised that since the Jetsons. Now, damn it, where are they?
They're in the lab.
Right now, if you're willing to spend $600-700 this Christmas, you can get the Back to the Future self-lacing Nikes. They're coming out. They just came out. It's true.
Yeah, who needs a flying car when you have that?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Well, let's kind of back into this just for the audience. I mean, obviously, we all know each other, but quickly tell us about N08, how you guys came to be, and what makes y'all different.
Sure. Yeah.
That's a good question. So Jeff and I have known each other for 5 years, and we've been talking about, looking at the trends that are happening in the world with the workforce and with the trends of disruption. We felt that we needed to come back with a service which was sort of needed in the marketplace, which is really helping customers work with the existing technologies and emerging technologies and come up with a solution that really takes the business to the next level. So that's where the whole thinking around N08 came around, which is, let's help them in building their solutions using the latest and greatest technology.
And what kind of technology does that typically involve?
It involves, the root of it is all software development, but really what we do is that we use the artificial intelligence or the cognitive computing technologies out there, and then build a solution which actually helps solve the big problems.
So what I think is kind of interesting about your approach is, everyone talks about technology now, but you see all these ideas that are out there, and some of them like, man, that's going to be $1 billion idea, and then they just don't seem to go anywhere. What I thought was kind of interesting, it has been interesting about you guys, is you really, really seem to focus on the problem and solution before just throwing technology at it. How did you guys kind of get to that place where you said, okay, we're going to take technology at the table for a minute and really focus on the problem and solution?
I think it's we've done a lot, right? I mean, so over the last 5 or 6 years, being involved, particularly in the mobile space, mobile's been kind of the big boom that we've really seen kind
Sure.
of grow over the last several years. That attracted a whole lot of entrepreneurs, and I saw a lot of the same types of problems and mistakes occurring, right? And I think Rishi can probably attest this too. So, a lot of times they have this very large, grand idea, and they get locked into this vision of it has to have all of the things in my perfect view of what that product is going to be. And, I think the biggest mistake that I see is they make the scope of it too large, and they never get out of the gate, and somebody else does. And so, the best example I can remember is take Snapchat as an example, right? Snapchat is on almost every phone that you can imagine in a
I'm on
certain
it.
age, right? And
Can't get Bob to join, but
and be surprised how around before anybody even knew of Snapchat, there was several people that we came into contact with that had this idea about, hey, I have a vision for this app where you can send messages and they self-destruct, and for whatever reason they just never got out of the gate with it. And so, I think what Rishi and I saw is that there's a problem to be solved there to help entrepreneurs or large companies take these ideas, match it with what's possible with existing technology, and then help guide them in kind of using more of a lean process to get going, get it out there, get adoption, get momentum, get funding raised, whatever they got to do to actually get moving, instead of kind of getting locked into this zone of it having to be a perfect product before they go.
Do you think that your clients, or do you see that your clients know what they need when you walk in the door, or do they have an idea where the trends are going and where they should be?
I think sometimes they really just have a problem, or they have kind of a concept. What they really need is somebody to help really fully vet it out. So I can give an example.
Perfect.
So we had a customer come to us that they have. It's a group of doctors and a handful of people that are trying to work on this concept together. And they've seen a lot about IBM Watson, right? Everybody's been talking about Watson for a couple of years. So that she works in the ER, and she sees a lot of the problems that occur in hospital emergency rooms with shortage of resources and that type of thing. And so they had this vision of, hey, we want to use artificial intelligence, or we want to use IBM Watson to help, fix all of these problems. What was interesting is because a lot of people hear about Watson, but they don't really know what is Watson? How does that actually apply? And so what was really cool about that process was we've got some really talented people on our team that can, peel that back and figure out, exactly what capabilities are there. And then, what Rishi and I think we're pretty good at is understanding the business side of it to help kind of guide, okay, well, how do we take the first step on actually creating a product, to solve the problem that you guys have identified?
And so that was kind of one scenario. So is it always, an entrepreneur? Or is it, big organizations that are trying to solve problems or develop new problems? How do people know that they need you?
It's a good question. And Rishi, feel free to jump in here, but I think that what companies are figuring out is that they have to be innovating all the time, or they're in constant danger of getting overtaken, right? Even big companies. And so, small startups can create products now that can really displace large companies out there. And so I think they're looking at innovation as something that has to be a core piece of their business. I think we see an opportunity of sort of being that innovation team, that these companies need help fostering these ideas and getting them through prototype or proof of concept and finding out whether it's got traction and they need to invest in it or not. So today, a lot of our business is from, smaller entrepreneurs and, small to medium sized businesses, but we've recently been talking to companies that are, quite large, that they've got these internal kind of continuous improvement initiatives going on, and they're really looking for somebody that can sort of partner with them to help drive that innovation, quickly.
So whenever you have a client that's looking at something, how far into the future should they be looking in making these kinds of technology decisions?
I think it's about looking at the immediate impact they're looking for, not just looking at the future just as a whole. It's about what decisions can they make today to make a change and a difference in the business, and that what the long-term impact would be if they did that. So it's not about, if they look at 5 years, 10 years from now, the businesses and and the people who have the budgets are going to pull them out because they haven't realized that value. So to get the value, they need to see immediate wins, and for that to happen, we have to look at short-term wins before we go to long-term.
So if they're looking too far in advance, almost what you're saying, it almost erodes confidence that they're going to
Achieve something.
achieve something.
Yeah.
Because the technology is going to be another spotlight.
That's right.
Yeah, and how do you know where it's going to be? But on the other hand, if you're looking too short term, are you going to make the right decision? I don't know. It's kind of a hard position to be in, I would think.
Right. So I mean, I think it is more about what does a short-term win look like, and what is that? How is that going to make a difference? And I mean, I guess we can give some examples here to be able to talk about these kind of things. So having a solution around, let's build on the ER problem that we talked about here. What can we do to better triage our patients and rate who needs to be looked at first? If you use technology to help rate and create the priority list based on that, it brings immediate impact. It doesn't have to be looked at 10 years from now. What can we do today to make that impact possible?
Gotcha.
Yeah, I sort of think of the really large guys as looking further ahead, right? So right now where we are today, I think where we probably fill a gap is that we bridge the gap between these like really out there kind of emerging technologies and the real world use cases, right? So we're not building artificial intelligence technology ourselves. We're sort of integrating it into solutions that can be utilized today. So I think our aim is probably a little bit short term than maybe like what IBM is doing or what Amazon is doing, that kind of thing.
I gotcha.
Right. But I mean, that's the way of the world. I mean, if we're going to see more and more of a push to technology, there's going to have to be way more collaboration, you would think, right? I mean, because you can't be the innovator of AI and the innovator of quantum computing and the innovator of transportation or what. I mean, I guess Google's trying to do all of the above, but I shouldn't say can't, but
yeah, they got a revenue stream that'll support that right now.
Right.
So.
But really, that's where the business thinking comes from, right? The disruption that Uber brought in to just improve the transportation problem with came to taxiing, completely disrupted the rental car industry, is disrupting, auto sales, and now technically disrupting the whole industry itself.
I mean, so much so, Bob didn't understand what the heck I was talking about, but yesterday...
That Bluetooth technology I wasn't hearing.
Sure, but yesterday, maybe you need a translator built in. Yesterday, I ordered on Uber Eats Fat Straw's bubble teas for my entire team in less than 1 minute, and it was delivered within 20 minutes. That usually would have taken 15, 20 minutes of someone's time. I was click, 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 boom, done. Yeah. It's amazing. Well, we're going to go to a break, and when we get back, Bob's going to tell us how to program in C++.
Maybe COBOL and BASIC, but that's about as far as I ever got.
Stick around.
And now, Confessions of a Recovering Landlord.
This is Bob Gibbons with Riata Commercial Realty, and I am your recovering landlord. After 20 years as a landlord, I now use that experience only for the benefit of companies that lease or buy office buildings and warehouses. Today's confession: knowledge is power. We all negotiate from a position of power and strength, or at least we want to. In any negotiation, the party with the most knowledge probably has the upper hand. And landlords count on this being the case whenever you're negotiating a lease, because most landlords are professional real estate investors and they hire professional leasing agents and property managers. Landlords are in the market every day negotiating leases, while tenants probably only negotiate 1, maybe 2 leases every few years. So tenants feel outgunned. Don't let landlords have all the power. As a former landlord for 20 years, I understand how landlords think and what motivates them. So let me put that knowledge and experience to work on your side of the negotiation. To learn more, contact me at TexasTenantRep.com. Again, that's TexasTenantRep.com.
Have you started making plans to take your business to the next level in 2016? Hi, I'm Stephen Nooner, founder and CEO of Alkali. We have a trademark process called the Empowered Advantage that enables CEOs, business owners, and entrepreneurs to more effectively buy and manage their insurance. Before sitting down to make your plans for the new year, here are just a few things to consider. Would you say that you have an actual insurance strategy, one that you can articulate, Or have you just purchased a policy here and there over the years? If you have an insurance strategy, was it discussed under the pressure of a renewal deadline or considered earlier in the year to avoid fire drill decision making? If your answer was no to either of these questions, then you may not have the right partner on your team. Visit alkaliservices.com to contact us and take the next step to a bigger and better future.
Hi, my name is Thomas Wheat, founder and managing partner of Pediatric Home Healthcare. We provide private duty nursing services for chronically ill children in the comfort of their home. If you're feeling really down and out, I do not recommend hanging out with these guys.
Welcome back to The Next Level, Conversations That Propel Business. We're here with our guest, Jeff Francis and Rishi Khanna of Eno8, and you can find them on the web at eno8 at .com, sorry. eno8.com.
You're already trying to get in your programming language. You guys should see Bob. I mean, he's got his high-tech belt on today and everything. It's just
Straight off of Shark Tank, baby. There you go. All right, so talk to us about clients and sort of what does a client engagement look like for you guys?
So we can tend to start our engagement with the client, in different places based on where they're at. So, we talked earlier about, sometimes they just have a concept or a problem they want to solve, right? So, if that's the case, we would tend to start, sort of at the ground level and doing like a discovery where we help them really sort of flush out the idea. Exactly what does a success look like in the project? And, one of the questions that I found has been the most revealing is, asking the customer if we were to fast forward in time 6 months from now and we look back on this product that we're creating, right? How would we gauge whether it was successful or not, right? And so it makes us begin with the end in mind, right? And we get really results focused on what do we need to do. And so the discovery is intended for us to, get all of that flushed out, understand, what are we going to kind of do as an initial scope of the first version of the product, and we'd call that like an MVP, right?
Do you ever? I mean, I don't want to interrupt, but do you ever after that say we're not a right fit? Like, I don't think
Absolutely.
that we can deliver on what you're expecting, not because of your capabilities, but because maybe it's not a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So first of all, it's like checking our capabilities, right? Because having the fit that's the foundation of whether the engagement's going to be successful or not for us and for our client. And most of the stuff that we do, we try to get our clients to think product, not project. So it doesn't really have like an end. If it has any kind of success, we really have to approach it as if we're always going to be working on this. And so, I think, is it a good fit is a big question. The other one is it a good idea or is it feasible? Is it technically feasible, right? And, I think one of the things that I coach our clients on a lot of times is that just because we can build something doesn't mean that we should build it. Right. We really need to, what's the value? What's the purpose? And is it measurable? And, that kind of thing. And so it's sort of self-serving because if we can answer that question as yes, and we can see like a big value opportunity, that's a really good client for us.
But you could also prevent people from throwing a lot of money away on technology too.
Which is another big mistake that you see a lot of times.
Well, and especially with such distributed workforces these days, you got people in the office, you got people on the road, you got people in other countries or traveling constantly. Whenever you look at sort of where things are going, both hardware and software, do you find that, is battery technology going to be able to keep up with the demands of new technology? Because those things are sucking such power. Are we going to have a problem with batteries? Seems like we already do in some ways.
That's an interesting question. I don't tend to think of battery a whole lot. I think there's a lot of advances going on. If you look at what Tesla is doing, for instance, in the battery space, that's on a large scale, right? But I can tell you this: like if you think of more like on a smaller scale, that something that we relate to is like Apple, for instance, right? I'll go off on a tangent here for a second, but the new MacBook Pros, I've been waiting a long time for those to come out, and I think a lot of people were sort of disappointed in what they did with the processors and that kind of stuff. And when I was talking yesterday with one of our architects, we were kind of wondering whether a lot of their decision making on how much processing power they put in those things is really driven by their desire to make those things thin and make a really long battery life and that kind of stuff. So I think there is a trade-off, and battery life does tend to have an element of that.
So back to the engagement though. So, and knowing you like I know you, the turning away business probably also feels good when it's not, someone's not going to be throwing away. And I know you guys are pretty purpose focused with your
Yeah.
with your business. So after that kind of initial, hey, we can really provide value, it is a match.
Yep.
Like what does the engagement process look like beyond that?
So we continue to kind of focus on like what's the most efficient way to move it forward, right? So generally after we do a discovery, we would go into kind of a design workshop where we actually build the product in like a UI prototyping tool. So instead of developing and jumping right into actually like coding on software, we try to build the experience in a prototype. And what's cool about that is it really flushes the idea out a lot, and it's a lot cheaper to make changes to design files and work with it there before we go to development. And so what we find a lot of times we get to that phase and the idea goes from this big and it starts getting really huge because they start to see it, right?
So is that like creating a storyboard before shooting a movie?
It is, but it's like an interactive storyboard, right? So you can actually, you know, for instance, if it was like an iPhone app, as an example, the prototype can actually install on an iPhone app and you can like touch through it and it actually feels very much like an actual app, right? And that helps a lot to like really figure out like, you know, how's this thing actually going to flow, and, you know, what do we need the user to be able to do, and is it easy, and that kind of stuff. And so, yes, I mean, again, it's about being lean. It's about using resources, you know, in a very smart fashion. And, you know, each step of the way, getting that validation that, like, we're on the right track here, and getting it in the hands of potential users and getting feedback. And then, you know, when we go to development, you know, then we have a pretty good handle that we're aiming at the right target.
And then going beyond that, actually, when we start building it, then we showcase the deliverables often, and more often than other companies do. We do it every week, and that gives a touch the feel of the application all the time, and that creates more innovation and ideas flow through people where they can not only validate the product but also continuously improve on it.
What's the biggest challenge for a business like yours?
So in a way, we have built a great team, and the biggest challenge is to scale. And to scale, we got to identify more great talent out there. And we're in the middle of a talent war where our competitors and our clients are fighting for the same talent that we're trying to consume ourselves. And so when we started the company, you know, Jeff and I both had a network of great friends and you know, workers around the globe. And what we realized is that we wanted to risk it with seeing how we can use a distributed team effectively, because we had really good talent everywhere we worked. And so with that, we were able to sort of overcome that challenge that we have, but really the scale is the challenge that we dealing with. And you know, but then I mean, tools and technologies that we use allow us to really collaborate really well with our team members and really improve on that communication channel that we need to have to be able to work together.
So if we're going down this road about talent, what about the talent of your customer? You know, are their employees smart enough or educated enough to use the tools you guys are creating for them?
Yes. I mean, wouldn't you say?
I think so. I think the sophistication of our client varies quite a bit, right? I mean, you know, sometimes it's someone who only has a concept and they don't know anything about software development, right? And other times you're dealing with someone who's very sophisticated, and we're very intertwined with our own in-house team in working on a solution, you know? So that varies a bunch. And
Do you find the people that are in the United States are more or less savvy than in other parts of the world? And I mean, are other countries doing a better job of preparing people for the future of technology?
I think my experience is that, you know, so what I found is that other areas of the world, they maybe focus their education system more on technology and engineering, you know, so for certain skill sets, you know, they probably have a more broad bucket of talent to tap into. You know, I think one of the things that I've sort of realized, the more exposure I've gotten outside the United States, is that something we could be very prideful of here is that we're very restless about whether something's good enough or not. Like, we have a very high bar for, like, is that good enough? And we're sort of always challenging that. And I think we work really hard here too. I mean, I think sometimes we're really hard on ourselves, but I think people around the world look at the United States, and I've actually had someone make a comment to me a couple of years ago when I was traveling that, you know, the U.S. is just never satisfied. You know, they're always trying to challenge that. So I think that's something that's really cool about, you know, the benefit we have here.
But you're rugged individualists, right?
Yeah, good is never good enough, right?
Yeah.
But that's what drives innovation, is because we try to constantly push the envelope and continuously try to innovate in that respect, and that's what's important.
You talk about, I guess one other thing to add on to how we kind of got to this conversation in terms of our challenge, right? One of the things that Rishi mentioned that we've sort of used to solve that is embracing this new way of working, right? Like a distributed team, flexible kind of work environment, a lot of autonomy, and you have to have a good process and a good system to sort of make that work, I think. But I think that really good talent, at least in our space, that's very valuable to them. So I think we've been able to get people onto our team that, maybe would have been hard for us to do if we didn't sort of offer that like flexibility and have a process that allows that to work well.
So if you're an entrepreneur listening to this, right, and you already are successful, you have a successful business, what are 2 or 3 things that like you need to be thinking about today to make sure that you're successful 3 years from now, 5, 10 years from now?
So a couple of things I can think about is, first of all, have clear vision, right? Be very clear about what you want to bring to the market, and stay true to that vision. Second, I would say, is about embracing change, because change is something that it's become normal, and we need to continuously lead the pack with that change, because if you are leading the change, then you are the leader of the industry. The third is, I would say, is to constantly get closer to the customer, listen to the customer, because customer knows it best. And so if you are true to these 3 things, potentially, I think we can do a good job in being successful.
What about you guys? If we're all sitting together here 3 years from now, what does a success look like for you? Back to what you said to your clients.
I think having really satisfied clients, having really satisfied employees, and having that satisfaction that we're doing really good quality and impactful work. I think some of the stuff that we're working on now today, we're going to be able to look back in a couple of years and say we really made an impact in our daily lives. And so I think that's what I really hope to do, is be able to point to some of those successes that are like very obvious big wins from that standpoint.
So in 30 seconds, give us an idea of what is your ideal client? You've mentioned a couple of different industries, but what's sort of the ideal for you guys?
So, we work with a lot of entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs, in enterprises. So ideal client has a clear purpose of what they're trying to do and why they're doing it. They're very genuine to solving that problem, and also they're very realistic about the expectation. So an ideal customer is pretty well aware of who they are and what they're trying to accomplish.
Okay.
Jeff, Rishi, thank you guys for coming on today. Bob, appreciate all the great questions about batteries. I love you. If you want to learn more about Jeff Rishi, please visit eno8.com. That's ENO and the number 8.com. If you heard something that you felt would be helpful to other entrepreneurs, please help spread the word. Like us on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. Just kidding. Have a great week.
You have been listening to The Next Level, Conversations That Propel Business with Stephen Nooner and Bob Gibbons. Join us every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. for more prolific conversations that will take your business to the next level.